Hey everyone, welcome back to another painting tutorial. As always, my name is Jay, and in this video I'll be showing you how I painted up this Exterminatus device, one of the cool new terrain objective markers for Warhammer 40k. I'll be doing a series of videos on all of the markers and how to paint each one. So I started off by priming the entire model with STYLRES black primer. The reason is, of course, we're using primarily metallics as the base color for this piece of terrain slash model. So you want to go over a dark primer, and STYLRES is by far my favorite primer to use from my airbrush, and as you can see, it goes on nice and shiny because of the black primer. So I'm just taking my base coat brush and getting a nice solid foundation of LEADBELCHER over the entire model. The keys for this step is don't go on too clumpy. You don't want your metallics to dry clumpy. You just want to get a nice solid coat, and then we proceed to some shadings and some highlightings. As you can see, I just took my time, went over the entire model, and it's a pretty large, round objective marker, so it just took a little bit of time. That's okay. And there we go. So the next I hit with non-oil. The reason is I wanted to create some heavy shading, especially towards the bottom of this piece, and I wanted to create a gradient of darkness at the top darkness at the bottom and lightness at the top. So I'm going to hit it with a pretty heavy coat of non-oil. Usually I water it down, but in this case I went straight from the pot directly onto the model because I really wanted to be really heavy and give some characteristic to this piece of terrain. And then after this, I'm going to then take some Agrex Earthshade, and just to differentiate the center metallics that will have the explosive canisters or the detonation devices, the actual explosives themselves. I'm differentiating them slightly by hitting them with Agrex Earthshade as well. As you can see here, I'm trying to get a really dark shadowing on the bottom. So now I'm going to take my Agrex Earthshade and go over the very center piece, just the metallics that are going to be going over the explosive canisters. Excellent, and then I'll differentiate them a bit. Plus, especially when you're doing when it's wet, they'll actually blend quite nicely together. Now it's time to build back up the shine and build the gradient. So I'm going to take some IRONBREAKER and a very, very light dry brush, and I'm going to apply it towards the top piece of the model and work my way downwards, of course, creating the gradient at the bottom. I wanted the area between all of its little legs. That is where I wanted the darkness to be. As you can see, I'm just picking up on the raised surfaces and work my way towards the bottom, but I'm going to graze very lightly on the bottom part. And then I'm going to repeat this process with RUNEFANG steel, once again focusing on the top of the model and not the bottom. As you can see, I'm going to have to once again frequently reload my brush because I'm doing such a light dry brush. That's okay. Now we got the metallics all nice and shiny. It's time to work on the rest of the colors. So next are the reds. And what I decided to do was for my wiring, I chose 3 colors. Whenever I think of bombs on TV shows and movies, there's always 3 colors: the red, the yellow, and the blue wire. And then there's always like, oh, should I cut the red wire? Should I cut the blue wire? So I'm going to choose those 3 colors. And for the actual explosives themselves, I chose MEPHISTON red. So the key is, whenever I'm using any Citadel paints that are non-metallic, I thin them down with Lamy and medium. Citadel paints are a little bit thicker and clumpier than the other model paints. So a good way to fix that, of course, is a little Lamy and medium, thin them down slightly, and then they go on nice and clean, as you can see. Not clumpy at all. So I'm going to just work my way around the canisters. I'm going to leave a tiny bit of that shading in the deep recesses, and that way it just creates like a heavy shadow effect. And then I took my detail brush and just carefully painted a couple of the wires. I'm going to do 1/3 yellow, 1/3 blue, 1/3 red. Pretty straightforward. You can do stripes if you want. I just wasn't in the mood to paint stripes. I like them solid colors myself. When all these wires, I find that the striping just takes too much time, and it doesn't. It's not worth the effect to me. But so I'm just going to carefully work my way around the model and continuously paint the wiring. And when that was done, I, of course, then took some CARROBURG Crimson Shade and painted the explosive devices. That way it just gets in the recess once again and builds up a little bit of shading. For this tutorial, I'm actually not using that many. Well, I'll be using Egg-Wrecker Earthshade a few more times, but I didn't use that many shades in this particular piece because of the smooth nature to it. As you can see, the shade will just be drawn to the edges and the recesses. And there you go. And next I highlighted them up with a thinned down Evil Sunz Scarlet. And yeah, we're going around the explosive devices. And there you go. So just going right around the detonation devices once again, building up a highlight. And you see it'll blend quite nicely in because it is watered. It is thinned down, not watered down, thinned down. Next I turned my attention to the blue wires, and for the blue I used TECLIS blue first, and then I'm going to highlight up with some Lothern blue. And of course I should mention I did highlight a little bit of the wiring as well, the areas that's facing towards the top with Evil Sunz Scarlet as well. But as you can see, I just chose a couple wiring and worked my way around them with TECLIS blue. I did 3 for this one. That's okay. The key is just take your time and get a nice coat over the wires. You don't want to go too clumpy as a kid. In this case, you don't want to actually smear it onto the Exterminatus device itself. And then I did a nice just highlight color along the very center of it towards the areas that are facing upwards with Lothern blue, just to build up a little bit of a highlight color. There you go. And next time, turn to the yellow wires. So I used AVERLAND Sunset first, which is great at establishing, a nice foundation for yellow. It's a bit of a mustardy yellow color, and I like to use it especially when going over other colors that aren't, white. Let's see, now we got our 3 colors set down, and I'll just paint the rest of the wirings the AVERLAND Sunset as well. So now it depends which wire to cut, the yellow, the red, or the blue. Excellent. Now YRIEL yellow. Perfect. And now I'm just highlighting up with the YRIEL yellow over the very, once again, the centerpiece of the wiring. It is thinned down and so it'll blend in quite nicely together. Now with the wiring's done, time to turn my attention to the skull on the front of it, with USHABTI bone, of course. I could have done Xandri Dust first ahead of time, but since it was going over silver, it was pretty easy to go just cover up with the USHABTI bone, even when it's thinned down. And then I hit it with an Egg-Wrecker Earthshade, just to give it some aging over the skull itself. And then I highlighted up with USHABTI bone, focusing on the raised areas, the ridges of his face, and the temple. Excellent. And then I painted the golds with BALTHASAR gold. I wanted to just paint with Citadel paints today, so that was okay. And yeah, BALTHASAR gold, getting the nice foundation of the golds on the cool thing is about this, it's actually set at 7 seconds. I'm guessing a reference to 007. I believe GoldenEye, not GoldenEye, sorry, Goldfinger. And then I hit with an Egg-Wrecker Earthshade and highlight up with the GEHENNA'S gold to bring out that 007 as well. And that's it. So now I know how to paint up this Exterminatus device. It wasn't too complicated because it is a piece of terrain. It's an objective marker, but it was a lot of fun to paint up, and I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As you can see, it came out nicely with some minimal colors, but it wasn't too hard to do. But it's really going to be fun to paint up these objective markers and do pieces on all of them, and tutorials on all of them. And as you just from all sides. And that's it. So as always, thank you so much for watching this painting tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned a bit about painting this Exterminatus device. Stay tuned for more painting tutorials. Leave comments in the comment section down below what you think, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting everyone.